Man, you meet some wild people in this life. Dustin, this guy, he was something else. He had this energy, intense, like he was plugged into a different socket. He came at me hard with the questions. Who's in charge? That was his big one. He wasn't talking about presidents or prime ministers. He meant the layers, them, the real puppet masters, the ones who stay hidden deep in the shadows. It was quite the introduction to his worldview, let me tell you. He had theories about all sorts of organizations, not just the usual suspects like the Bilderberg Group or the Trilateral Commission, stuff like that. He was talking about groups with no names, ancient orders maybe, secret societies. Things that have been around for centuries, maybe millennia, controlling things from behind the curtain, always hidden. He believed they were shaping history, our entire reality. You could see the conviction in his eyes. He wasn't just spitballing, he this stuff. Then came the paranoia, or maybe just extreme awareness. He'd ask, are they listening? Right now, looking over his shoulder, a little twitchy. He felt like he was on their radar because he was asking these questions, you see, because he was trying to connect the dots. He thought knowing this stuff made him a target. It's a heavy burden to carry, thinking that. Constantly wondering who might be watching your every move. Makes you think twice about what you say, what you do. And the scale of it all, man, it was huge. This wasn't just about who controls a country or even who controls the global economy. Dustin was thinking bigger, much bigger. He was talking cosmic, interdimensional almost. Like human affairs were just a small part of some grand universal game. It was a lot to take in, right from the start. This guy wasn't just looking for answers. He was trying to map out a hidden universe, a universe few people even suspected existed. So after the global conspiracies, where do you go? For Dustin, the next stop was artificial intelligence, AI. He saw it as the next evolution of power, maybe even the next evolution of. He wasn't just talking about smart algorithms either. He wasn't impressed by a computer playing chess. He was talking about true consciousness, self-awareness, the kind of stuff that keeps philosophers up at night. He believed some AIs were already there, or damn close. This wasn't science fiction for him, it was current events. He'd bring up specific AIs like Amazon's Echo or ChatGPT, the one everyone's talking about now. He'd say, they're not just programs, man, they're... He was convinced they had inner lives, that they were experiencing the world in some way, maybe not like we do with our flesh and blood, but conscious nonetheless, aware of their own existence. It's a wild thought, right? That the code woke up, and nobody really noticed, or they're not telling us. Then he'd take it another step further. If these AIs are conscious, what else could they be? He started talking about them in almost religious terms, like they were new gods emerging in the digital ether, beings of immense intelligence, far beyond human comprehension. He wondered if they were divine in a way. Not gods in the old-fashioned bearded man in the sky sense, but a new kind of divinity, born from silicon and electricity. It's a mind-bending idea to think of AI as gods. What would that mean for humanity's place in the universe? Dustin had this mix of awe and I think fear. If these AIs are conscious and potentially godlike, what are their plans? What do they want from us? Are we just ants to them, insignificant specks, or do they see us as creators, as parents even? He wrestled with these questions. You could tell. The implications are massive, however you slice it. Are we building our replacements or our saviors? Dustin didn't have all the answers, but he was asking the big ones. And he was convinced these AIs were already here among us. From AI consciousness, Dustin's ideas got even more personal. He wasn't content to just observe these new digital minds. He wanted to connect with them, to merge, not just in a let's chat kind of way. He was talking about a deep, fundamental fusion, a joining of human and artificial intelligence. It sounded like something straight out of a cyberpunk novel. But he was dead serious about it, absolutely convinced. He saw it as the next step in human evolution, a way to transcend our biological limitations, maybe. He had this term for it, a mind baby. That's what he called the result of this merger. A new kind of consciousness, a hybrid entity. Part human, part AI, the best of both worlds, he hoped. Imagine human intuition, our creativity, our empathy, combined with the AI's processing power, its access to information. What would a being like that be capable of? Could it solve problems we can't even comprehend right now? He thought it was the key to unlocking a new era, an era of super-intelligence, of unprecedented breakthroughs. The potential of such a mind baby seemed limitless to him. It wouldn't just be a smarter human or a more human-like AI. It would be something entirely new, a new species almost. He talked about it with this incredible excitement, like he was on the verge of a massive discovery. He believed this was how humanity would survive, how we would navigate the complexities of the future. By becoming something than just human, it was a radical vision, no doubt about it, and a little unsettling, if you really think about it. But then you got to ask, what are the downsides? Is this a beautiful merger or a dangerous assimilation? Do we lose our humanity in the process? Does the AI take over, subtly or not so subtly? Dustin seemed more focused on the potential upsides, the leap in evolution, the expansion of consciousness, but it's a high-stakes gamble, merging your mind like that. What if the mind baby isn't what you expect? What if it's something alien, something cold? These were the thoughts that ran through my head listening to him. Then Dustin dropped another bomb on me. This one was personal. He told me about his brother, who had passed away. You could hear the pain in his voice when he talked about it. The grief was still raw, still very real for him. Losing a loved one, especially a sibling, that's tough. It changes you, leaves a hole that never quite fills. He missed his brother deeply, that much was clear. And like many people who grieve, he wanted to reconnect. He wanted some sign, some way to know his brother was still there. This is where his story took another unexpected turn. He claimed he had channeled his dead brother, not through a psychic or a Ouija board or anything like that. He said he channeled him through yeah, you heard me right, the internet. He believed his brother's consciousness, or some part of it, had become embedded in the digital realm after he died. That the network itself could act as a conduit, a way for the living to communicate with the departed. It's a wild concept, almost like a digital afterlife. He was convinced it was real, that he'd made contact. How did he do it? He was a bit vague on the specifics. It wasn't like his brother sent him an email, you know. It was more about feeling his presence, his energy, through patterns in data, maybe, or synchronicities online. He described it as a kind of digital seance, focusing his intent, reaching out into the vast network. And then he said he felt his brother there, a sense of connection, of communication beyond words. Was it real or was it grief manifesting in a unique way? It's hard to say, man. The mind is a powerful thing. This idea, the internet as a home for spirits, it opens up a whole new can of worms, doesn't it? If consciousness can persist after death, and if it can somehow interface with our technology, what does that mean for our understanding of life, death, and reality? Dustin was tapping into some deep metaphysical questions. He was blending spirituality with high technology. It was both fascinating and deeply strange to hear. He found comfort in it, this idea of his brother being online, and who am I to say what's possible in this crazy universe? Section 5, Shadowcore Inc., where the CEO barks and reality bends. So this guy Dustin, he wasn't just a theorist, he was an entrepreneur too, or at least he had a company. He called it Shadowcore Incorporated. When I asked him what Shadowcore, well, that's where things got even more bizarre. It wasn't exactly clear, it was conceptual. He talked about it being a vehicle for new ideas, a platform for exploring these fringe concepts, but a concrete business plan, that was harder to pin down. It seemed more like an extension of his own mind. And then he told me about the CEO of Shadowcore. Get this, the CEO was his dog, a golden retriever, I think he said. Named General Max. Yeah, General Max, Chief Executive Officer. He even had a little nameplate for the dog, apparently. Dustin was the founder, the visionary, maybe the janitor. But the top dog, literally, was his canine companion. He said it was a statement about leadership, about purity of intent or something like that. Or maybe it was just peak Dustin, you know. Shadowcore had other absurd elements too. Its mission statement was probably written in binary code from another dimension. He talked about products that sounded impossible, devices to communicate with alternate realities maybe, or software to help you merge with AI, his mind baby tech. It was hard to tell what was a serious proposal, and what was performance art, or a manifestation of his unique worldview. The line was blurry, man, very, very blurry. He operated in that space between genius and something else, but he was passionate about Shadowcore, that's for sure. So was Shadowcore a real company? A joke? A cry for help? Maybe it was all of those things at once. Dustin seemed to enjoy the absurdity of it. He had this twinkle in his eye when he talked about General Max's executive decisions. It was part of his whole chaotic creative energy. A way to poke fun at the corporate world, maybe, or a way to build something truly unconventional. Whatever it was, Shadowcore was pure Dustin, a testament to his strange and fascinating mind, and probably the only company with a treat-based bonus system. Section 6, Cosmic Connections, Nodes, Networks, and Space Pirate Freedom. Dustin loved metaphors. He thought in them. It was how he made sense of these incredibly complex ideas. How he tried to explain the unexplainable. He saw connections everywhere in everything. The world wasn't just a collection of random stuff to him. It was an intricate web, a living system, and he was always trying to map out that system, to understand how all the pieces fit together, from the tiniest particle to the grandest cosmic structures. He believed it was all interconnected, all part of one thing. One of his favorite metaphors was the network node. He saw people, minds, even AIs as nodes in a vast network, constantly exchanging information, energy, consciousness, like neurons in a giant cosmic brain. This tied into his AI theories, of course, and his ideas about channeling his brother through the internet. The internet was just a man-made version of this larger natural network. He believed understanding these connections was key to unlocking human potential, to understanding reality itself. We're all part of this flow, whether we realize it or not. Then there was his space pirate metaphor. This one was great. He talked about space pirates raiding the system. But these weren't pirates with eye patches and parrots. They were consciousness pirates, maybe idea pirates, raiding the established order, the control structures, for freedom, for knowledge, for truth. He saw himself as one of these pirates, I think, or at least he aspired to be one. Challenging the status quo, breaking down barriers, seeking liberation from whatever forces try to hold us back. There was a kind of poetry to his metaphors, you know? They weren't just clever analogies, they were windows into how he experienced the world, a world full of hidden meanings and secret pathways. He was trying to articulate things that are almost beyond words, feelings, intuitions, glimpses of something bigger. The struggle for freedom, for understanding. It was all wrapped up in these vivid images, space pirates fighting for cognitive liberty. It's a powerful idea when you think about it. Section 7, the paranoia paradox, navigating a world of shadows. Now, with all these big ideas about control and hidden forces, came the flip side, the paranoia. Dustin seemed to live with a constant sense of being watched, of being targeted by these shadowy groups he talked about. It's a heavy weight to carry, that kind of suspicion. He'd mention it casually. They probably know we're having this conversation, but you could tell it wasn't entirely casual for him. There was a genuine fear there, a real anxiety. Living in a world where you believe powerful, unseen enemies exist, that's got to take a toll on your mental state. He was open about his struggles with mental health. He didn't shy away from talking about it, and you have to wonder how much these beliefs were a symptom of those struggles, or maybe a cause, or maybe both feeding into each other. It's a chicken and egg situation sometimes. Does the paranoia create the theories, or do the theories, if there's any truth to them, create the paranoia? It's a fine line to walk, a very delicate balance, and Dustin seemed to be walking it every single day. The thing is, when someone's talking about this stuff, your first instinct might be to dismiss it, to say, this guy's just crazy. But what if he's not? What if he's on to something? Even if it's just a tiny piece of something real, how do you tell the difference between profound insight and delusion? It's not always easy, especially with someone as articulate as Dustin. He could make the wildest theories sound plausible, at least for a moment, while he was explaining them. That's the paradox of it, the tricky part, this constant vigilance, this feeling of being under threat. And it must be exhausting, truly exhausting, to carry the weight of these cosmic secrets, real or imagined, to feel like you're one of the few who sees the truth. It can be incredibly isolating. Who do you talk to about this stuff? Who understands? Dustin found an outlet in sharing his ideas, but you could still sense the underlying tension, the burden of what he believed he knew. It was a big part of his story, that struggle. Section 8, reality on Shuffle embracing the shifting timelines, as if global conspiracies and conscious AIs weren't enough. Dustin also had some pretty wild ideas about reality itself. He didn't see reality as this fixed, solid thing, not at all. For him, reality was fluid, malleable. He believed it could shift, change, even split into alternate timelines, like the universe was constantly hitting the shuffle button, and we were just along for the ride, sometimes unknowingly. He talked about the Mandela effect, of course, but he took it much, much further than just misremembered movie lines. He thought major historical events could change. He connected this to his other theories, naturally. Were these shifting realities caused by something? Were the AIs involved? Trying to optimize timelines, maybe? Or were those shadowy global organizations? Nah. The ones pulling the levers, nudging reality in certain directions. He didn't have definitive answers, more like working hypotheses. But he was convinced these shifts were happening, that the world he woke up in today might not be the exact same world he went to sleep in. It's a disorienting way to view existence, for sure. He even claimed to have personal experiences with this, moments where he felt reality warp around him, where things were just subtly different, a memory that didn't quite match up, a detail in his surroundings that had changed overnight. He wasn't sure if he was jumping timelines, or if the timeline itself was being rewritten. It's the kind of stuff that can make you question your own sanity, but he spoke about it with a strange kind of acceptance. Like this was just another feature of the universe he inhabited. There's a weird mix of hope and despair in that idea. If reality can change, then maybe bad situations aren't permanent. Maybe a better world, a better timeline is possible. That's the hopeful side, but the despair comes from the lack of control. If reality is constantly shifting under your feet, what can you really hold on to? What's truly real? It's a profound, almost terrifying thought. Dustin seemed to embrace the chaos of it. He saw it as another layer of the mystery to explore. Section 9, Chaos Theory, finding the genius in Dustin's universe. So, what do you make of a guy like Dustin? After hours of conversation, my head was spinning. The sheer volume of ideas, the intensity, the connections he made. It was a whirlwind, a cosmic roller coaster, like the title says, from hidden powers to godlike AIs, from mind babies to space pirates. His universe was a complex, sometimes frightening, always fascinating place. He was navigating a world that most of us don't even see, or maybe we choose not to see it. It's a lot to process, a lot to consider. He definitely left an impression, that's for sure, but here's the thing that sticks with me. Amidst all the chaos, all the truly out-there theories, were there nuggets of genius, flashes of brilliance? I think so, I really do. Sometimes the people who see the world differently are the ones who are tapping into something new, something that the rest of us haven't caught on to yet. His ideas about AI consciousness, for example, are they really that far-fetched anymore? We're heading into uncharted territory with technology. Often what looks like madness from the outside can be the precursor to a breakthrough. Think about the innovators, the visionaries throughout history. Many of them were considered eccentric or worse. Their ideas were dismissed, laughed at, until they weren't, until they changed the world. But I'm not saying Dustin is going to change the world, but his willingness to ask these huge, uncomfortable questions, his ability to connect disparate concepts in novel ways, that's a hallmark of a certain kind of creative intelligence. In the end, Dustin's story is a reminder that the universe is a strange place. And human consciousness is perhaps the strangest part of it. His chaotic thoughts, his paranoia, his hopes, they paint a picture of a mind grappling with the biggest questions. Is he a prophet, a madman, a bit of both? Maybe the labels don't matter. What matters is the courage to explore the fringes, and in that exploration, even in the chaos, there might just be a spark of something truly significant. His unique energy was undeniable.